Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. In this episode here, I want to talk about Mr. Zapruder's camera and give more information on the Zapruder film and everything else. Now, when I was going through my videos, I found out that one of my videos is not in there about when I talked about the Zapruder camera, Mr. Zapruder's camera, because I went out and bought a copy of it. I got it right now in storage, but I do have images of it and everything else like that. Well, I'm going to show you here in a minute. But I'll just want to put this information out as well for anybody else that wants to do research into the JFK assassination, in the future or whatever. They will get this information, so they'll get the proper information. So when they do their research and stuff like that, they'll know this information. Now, everybody knows right here is Bell Howell camera that Mr. Zapruder used. It's the same identical one, has same type. I use the same type of film and everything when I did my research and everything else on this. And the information what I'm about to give you is what a lot of people's not going to tell you about, or they don't even know themselves, but I'm going to give you this information. And the reason why I found this information out is because I had the same exact camera. Now, as you see here, we have our settings and stuff like that, so many frames per second and everything else, and the lighting and stuff like that. But what people don't know, okay, is like the film here. We're going to show this the sprockets where you put the film in. The film looks like a 16 millimeter film, but it's actually not 16 millimeter. It's 8 on one side, 8 on the other side, but it looks like 16 millimeter film. When you get done filming on side A, then you have to switch the film over and then start filming on side B. Okay, now what I want to point out is right here. People don't know. Okay, we have the button on the side of the camera where when you hold the camera, when you wind it up and stuff like you start filming, okay, you push down on the camera a little bit as you see right here. Watch, I'll use my cursor. When you push up, okay, when you're pushing up, you're just making still frames, okay? But when you push down just a little bit, okay, you're actually filming at normal speed, 16, 18 frames per second. But if you hold this button completely down, which comes all the way down, you'll start filming in slow motion, which ends up being 20 to 24 frames per second instead of the normal 16, 18 frames per second. So this is what Mr. Zapruder was doing actually when he was filming. Is remember when we first view the film, we'll see him film Elm Street, but we don't see JFK's limo. But then we have the break between frames 132 and 133. This is when Mr. Zapruder changed his film around. And when he filmed around, he went up real quick, and then he started pressing down the button. That's why we already see JFK's limo is already on Elm Street, coming down on Elm Street. And he was in a rush because of all this. He went ahead and started filming, and he was pushing the button down, and he started filming in slow motion, okay? So that's why he picked up on a lot of the details, I'm glad he did film in slow motion because he picked up on all the details that we find in the film itself. Plus, when he filmed, which a lot of people's not going to point out, is actually he zoomed in all the way. That's why we don't see the Newman family in frame. We don't see a lot of other people that's on this side of Elm Street in frame because he zoomed in all the way where he was completely zoomed in all the way when he was filming the JFK's limo coming down. He actually had it zoomed in all the way. Now, as I point out, this is what the film looks like. It looks like 16 millimeter film. It's about this wide. It's about over an inch wide. Okay. Now, when we view this film, okay, as you see here, okay, this is the 16 millimeter film. Okay, you have side A, which is over here, and you have side B, which is top, bottom, as we go over this. And you've got the sprocket holes on the side. Okay, that's why when we look at this film, we see the sprocket holes on only one side of the film, but as you see here, we have sprocket holes on both sides of the film. But like I said, they cut down the center of this film. Like I said, I just want to give this information out. Now, another thing I want to show people is this right here, that from 001 through frame 132 is actually on side A of the Zapruder film. And frame 133 through frame 486 is on side B of the Zapruder film. Like I said, it's a two-sided film. As I point out in my other video, this is what the film looks like. You got side A and side B. You have 500 frames on one side you have 500 frames on the other side, which is a total of 1,000 frames total, and the total is 25 feet on each side, which is a total of 50 feet when you have both, when you cut down center as you see here. That's how you do it. After you film on side A, you turn it around and you start filming on side B. Then when it's done completely filming, and when you go get it developed, they develop the film, and after they get done developing, they go ahead and cut down the center of the film, and then they splice it together at the where the two ends meet right here, end of here, and then the end of here. They'll splice them two together, and then all of a sudden you have your one complete reel of film. Like I also want to point out too in this video, and I'll point out in my other video, that the numbers of the frames, okay, are different, okay, because of pure simple fact that it is on side A, you have first, at the beginning of the film, you have Zapruder's family, Mrs. Setzman, and everything else, okay, so they're not going to sit there and show you this part of the film, so they cut all this out, just like the end of the film they cut out as well, because it was blank, okay, but actually the fatal headshot took a, the fatal headshot as we see it today when they base it on the film, okay, and we're just basing on just Elm Street is on frame 313, but actually on the original Zapruder film, the full-length film, the fatal headshot actually took place at frame 682, okay, which are not going to give you this information, but like I said, I'm going to give you this information because you need this information if you're going to do a full investigation or full research into the JFK assassination, okay. Now, like I said, if we, which I'm going to pull up right here, let me point this up right here. Oops, let me go back, sorry. This is one of the frames that was before Mr. Zapruder started filming Elm Street, okay? What you see here, here's Miss Setzman talking to a couple sitting on a bench all over by shelter number 1, the Pelagora there, okay? He started filming them first, and then he stopped filming. Then they climb up on the wall, and then Mr. Zapruder start filming Elm Street, okay? They don't want to show you this. That's why they don't look at this part of the film or this part of the frame as well, because this is before he starts filming Elm Street. So they actually took these frames out here, and the frames of his family they also took out. So this is where that rumor started that frames was taken out of the film. Is true, yes, the films, those frames taken out of the Zapruder film, but they want to just tell you that, but they don't want to tell you the whole story, because remember, they want to say the film was altered, so they're just going to go ahead and say frames was taken out of the film. But they're taking out, but they're having people think that this was taken out, that was taken out during the assassination part. But it wasn't. It was taken out before the assassination and after the assassination. Them frames were taken out because, as I point out in that show, that the first part of the Zapruder film shows Mr. Zapruder's family and Mrs. Setzman, and then Elm Street. And then after the assassination, the rest of the frames were blank. So that's when they took these out. Plus, I also want to give you this information as well, which pulls up red flags for me as well. Now, Mr. Zapruder bought this camera 2 weeks. Bought this camera 2 weeks before the assassination, and he only bought one reel film. Now, what gets me is this: is when he went to work that morning, he forgot his camera, so he went back to his house to pick up the camera, and then he comes back, and he, as we know, he filmed it and everything else. But what like I said, and also as I point out, he bought this camera, which I'm not going to give you this information. He bought this camera 2 weeks before the assassination, and he only bought one reel film. And during that time, he owned that camera within that 2 weeks. He filmed a little bit on side A of his family. And then that day of the assassination, he starts filming Mrs. Setzman a little bit, and then he starts filming the assassination. Then after he was done filming the assassination and everything else, he got rid of the camera. He wanted to have the camera no more. He gave, he sold him the camera, or he gave the camera up. He never bought another camera again. He never used a camera again. He never filmed nothing after the assassination. And it's just like I said, that's another thing that brings up red flags to me about it, because it's like he buys a camera 2 weeks before the assassination. He only buys one reel film. He records a little bit on side A of his family and Mrs. Setzman. Then he records the assassination, and then he don't record no more. He don't film no more or anything else like that. if you watch some of the other films that was taken that day, we would see people that only filmed before the assassination, during the assassination, even after the assassination, people still filming. Okay, they was just like the Orville Nix film and other films as well that day. People's filming before and even after, but Mr. Zapruder only filmed the assassination. After the assassination was over, he stopped filming. He didn't film no more. The camera, he didn't want the camera no more. He didn't want the film no more. But it always bothered me when I sit there and I think about, well, he just bought it 2 weeks before the assassination, and he only bought the one real film. He didn't buy no other real films before that. And the only time he's done any filming on this film was a little bit one day on his family, like I guess when he first bought it. And then that has a few frames on it. And then we had the frames of Mrs. Setzman before he starts filming Elm Street. But that's it. Never filmed no more. Never filmed no more with the camera. Didn't buy no more film for it or anything else like that. Because you would figure if someone was going to do an event like the JFK assassination, he would buy a separate film for it instead of not having his family on, but he had his family on it as well. But I just want to give this information out here that the Zapruder film, when he filmed, he actually had the camera set a full zoom. This is why we see a real close image of the surroundings and JFK and stuff like that. We don't see the Newmans or nothing on it because he didn't have it set back. He had it actually set all the way to full zoom. So I want to give people that information. I wanted to give people the information that the film itself looks like a 16 millimeter film, but it's actually 8 millimeter film on one side and 8 millimeter film on the other side as well. So we have side A and side B. Okay, I want to give that information out. Also want to give out the information that he actually filmed not 16 to 18 frames per second, was more like 20 to 24 frames per second because he was filming the whole assassination in slow motion. Because that's why when we look at this Zapruder film, it's 28 seconds long, but the whole assassination took place with under 18 seconds. Okay, so we got another 10 seconds or plus more of in a Zapruder film that we're going to see than we see in other films, because the other films like the Orville Nix film only shows 7 seconds of the assassination. The Bronson film only shows approximately 4 seconds to 5 seconds of the assassination. And when I point out in one of my other videos, I'll show the time frames of these films and stuff, and I show it, and I show the whole assassination took place with under 16, 18 seconds. The whole assassination took place, but now we have this Zapruder film, which showing over around 28 seconds long. So this also indicates that Mr. Zapruder was filming in slow motion. Okay, just like when I tell people that during frames 132 and 133, he actually turned the film around. He had the first part of Elm Street was filmed on side A, then he had to turn the film around and start filming on side B, and that's when he filmed the whole assassination. That's why we see JFK's. Then we're already down on Elm Street. We see more people on the corner here and stuff like that, because that's when he started filming the assassination of JFK. That's why when we look at the film, we see just the police officers come. We don't even see the lead car. Okay, we don't even see the lead car or anything else. And then when he switched the film around, wind it back up, starts filming again, then we don't even still see the lead car in the film itself. The police officer's already gone by. The lead car's already gone by. JFK's already turned down on Elm Street. Then Mr. Zapruder started filming again. Okay, this is all facts, okay? And the reason why I want to make this video is to point this stuff out is so people know if they want to do their own research and own investigation, okay, you're not going to find this information nowhere else. You're only going to find the information here in my video or in my book, Evidence of the Conspiracy. You'll find this evidence and you'll find this research in it, but you're not going to hear from no other researcher. You're not going to hear nowhere else but only here. So that's the reason why I want to make this video. So if you're going to do your own research, you're going to do your own investigation into the case, okay, you might as well get the full story and not just partial story, because a partial story is not going to help you out if you want to do true research on this case. Okay, they're not going to tell you that it's a two-sided film. Okay, they're not going to tell you it's a two-sided film. You got side A and side B. They're not going to tell you that the frames that's cut out was just the frames of Mr. Zapruder's family, Mrs. Setzman, and the end frames where there wasn't nothing recorded on it. They're just going to tell you the film was altered, frames taken out, the numbers were different. That's all you're going to hear. But they're not going to give you the reason why the frames are different numbers. They're not going to give you the reason why frames are taken out. Okay, because if they tell you all this information, then you're going to understand more about the Zapruder film, and it's going to blow their case of saying film's been altered. Okay, but the only parts of the films they took out was Mr. Zapruder's family, Mrs. Setzman, and the very end where it has nothing on it. And that's like I point out here. Okay, the frames that they're only going to count as renumbered was from beginning of Elm Street to the end of Elm Street. Okay, when Mr. Zapruder just filmed that part of the assassination, because the frames before had nothing to do with assassination, the frames after didn't have nothing to do with assassination. So that's why they went ahead and renumbered, so they could just number from that beginning of Elm Street to the end of Elm Street. Because as I point out here, that the fatal headshot actually was taken by frame 682, but that was on side B. Okay, frame 682, that was when the fatal headshot happened. But when we're just looking at the frames itself, starting with 001 of Mr. Zapruder filming Elm Street only, and to the end of Elm Street, it'll be frame 313. Okay, like I said, I wanted to give this information out. Like I said, they're not going to tell you it was a double-sided film. They're not going to say it was this kind of film. It has side A, side B, and then after you get done, they cut it down to center. They're not going to give you this information. I'm going to give you this information because this is the facts. This is the truth. So if you're going to do research on this case and you're going to do research on the JFK assassination, you need to have all the information you can off of the film, off the camera he used, how he was filming, so you can fully understand of when you view that film, when you view the Zapruder film, you're going to know now that the frames that was taken out, as they claim, was not anything during the assassination part. It was before the assassination of his family, Mrs. Setzman, and after the assassination, which was blank frames. Them are the frames they took out. When they said, well, what about the numbering of the frames? Okay, well, now you're going to know that they only numbered the frames 001 because they're only going to start with Elm Street and to the end of Elm Street. Okay, but you're going to note also that the fatal headshot actually took place at 682 frame on side B, not on side A, but on side B of the film. But it's actually 313 now when we're just studying the frames from beginning of Elm Street to the end of Elm Street. So that's basically how they changed the numbers. So now you know this information now that they're not going to tell you because they want you to keep on thinking to yourself that the film's been altered. Okay, there's frames taken out. They're not going to tell you this information because they want you to keep that in mind so they can keep on keeping that false claim going and going and going and keep on giving us false information out. They're going to keep on doing it so you be lost in the case when the real facts has always been in front of people to begin with. So I want to make this video here and let everybody know that when it comes to JFK assassination, when we're viewing this film and stuff, to fully understand the Zapruder film, we have to understand what kind of camera he used, how he was filming, what type of film he was using, how it was developed. This is why we see, and I also want to give this information as well, this is why we see like the gunman. When I point out the gunman, I would see in the sprocket area, okay, right here, which if you watch my cursor right in this location here, shows the gunman on the rooftop of the County Records building. A lot of people ask me, why is this seen in every one of the frames? Here's the reason why. As you see here, and now I'm going to point up, you see the film here, okay? When he's filming on this side, he's facing this way. He's filming on this side. He's going to capture that gunman. Then when he switches over, he's going to capture that gunman again, okay? And the way the fast process of making this film, a lot of it bleeds through. So it's going to capture on both sides. That's why we have it through the whole frames. We have it on all the frames through the whole film, is because it was bleeding from one side to the other the way they was developing it, because if they done it the proper way and developed it, we would not even see the gunman on the rooftop. Okay, we would probably see in a few frames, but that's it. It wouldn't be in the rest of the frames. But then since they did a fast job on this and they wanted to get it done that same day of the assassination, because usually a film like this will take them to do it the proper way. You're talking about 2 to 3 days properly to do it, and then do the proper cutting and everything else like that. That would have took a lot of that, bleed through and everything else away. But since they did a fast job on this to show the film, that's why we see the gunman through the whole film itself. But I just want to make this video here to give this information out so people know that if you're going to do research on a Zapruder film, use this information, okay, and look at when you view this Zapruder film, remember this information so you know exactly what really took place that day. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more videos here after this one. I want to thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget the subscribe button. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. Even share this video. Thank you, and you have a pleasant day.